I stood in the middle of the living room, staring blankly at the wedding invitation in my hand. The artwork was elegant, the script beautifully handwritten, but all I could see was the ghost of betrayal clinging to the edges, a reminder of everything that had spiraled out of control in my life. My chest tightened as I tried to process what it meant. "You are cordially invited to the wedding of my daughter and her fiancé," the glossy card read. My stomach turned at the thought of it. I could barely feel my legs beneath me. The air was thick with unspoken words, accusations, and secrets, and I felt suffocated by it all. Outside, the sunlight poured in through the large bay window, illuminating the dust motes swirling lazily in the air. It should have felt warm, comforting, but instead it was like a spotlight shining down on my life, exposing all my failures, the lies I had lived through, and the truth I had tried so hard to ignore. The betrayal felt like a cold knife. It cut deep and left a wound that ached with every breath I took. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. My husband entered, his face a mask of confusion mingled with guilt. "Isabella, what is it?" he asked, his brow furrowed in concern. I turned to him, the invitation trembling in my hand. "Are you really going to act like nothing is wrong?" I demanded, but even to my own ears, my voice cracked, revealing a layer of hurt I was struggling to contain. My husband's face went pale, and for a moment I could see the guilt flash across his features as he realized how serious I was. "I do not understand what you mean," he replied, his voice low and cautious as if testing the waters. "You know exactly what I mean. You cannot keep pretending like everything is fine," I shot back, my voice rising with each phrase. "It was wrong what you did, what you hid, how could you?" He took a step back, his expression shifting from confusion to defensive. "You are misinterpreting things, Isabella. We had to think about the family, about how this would look to everyone." I felt my head spin, filled with an overwhelming sense of betrayal. This man, the one who had vowed to love and protect me, thought of appearances over reality. How could he be so cruel? "And what about me?" I pressed on, desperation clawing at my throat. "What about the truth?" The truth hung in the space between us like an uninvited guest. It felt heavy and suffocating. It was unspoken but known, as obvious as the wedding invitation in my hands. I was the only one in this family who could see it. I could not help but think of my daughter, how she could stand to marry someone who had hurt us both so deeply. I shook my head in dismay, refusing to let tears spill over. "You need to face this, you need to tell her the truth before it is too late." The silence in the room was deafening. It felt as though time had stopped, my heart racing echoed in the stillness. My husband's face was a mix of anger and frustration, and behind it I saw something else, a flicker of fear. Fear of what would happen if the truth came out. "What truth?" he asked, his tone shifting into something sharper. "You think I would let her suffer? You think that I would ruin her wedding just to satisfy your need for vengeance?" "Vengeance? This is not about vengeance. This is about honesty, about not letting her walk blindly into a life with someone who has already betrayed her." I realized my hands were shaking. I could feel them tremble as if they had a mind of their own. "You need to make this right," I almost whispered, my voice filled with an intensity that shook me to my core. My husband looked at me, and for a brief moment I thought I saw a flash of hesitation in his eyes, then it vanished, replaced by a wall of indifference that made my heart sink deeper. "What do you want from me, Isabella? I know you're still angry about what happened. I cannot change the past." I wanted to scream at him, to shake him and make him see just how wrong everything was. How could he think I was angry simply because I wanted honesty? "You think I am angry? You think I am the only one who has a reason to be furious? My daughter deserves better, and we owe it to her to be honest. If you do not tell her now, it will not just be her heart that will break, it will be our family, our reputation, it will all crumble." My voice cracked again, and despite my best efforts to hold it together, tears threatened to spill over. The tension was palpable. I could feel it tightening around my throat like a noose. Silence stretched out as I desperately searched his face for some sign of understanding, some indication that he was still the man I had married, the one who had promised to be by my side, but all I saw was a stranger. "You do not know what you are asking of me," he finally replied, his tone hardened. "This is not just about you or your emotions. This involves everyone. We cannot destroy what we have worked so hard to build." My hands tightened around the invitation, crumpling the edges. "Do you realize how weak that makes you? I do not know if you still love our daughter, if you truly care about her at all, if turning your back on her happiness means preserving a facade." In that moment, I could see my husband's resolve crack just a little. He looked away as if struggling to come to terms with my accusations. His hands trembled at his sides, the only sign of his inner turmoil. I took a step closer to him. I needed him to understand. "This is about loyalty, moral duty. The truth will always come out, and when it does, what will you tell her?" In the depths of my heart, I felt a spark of something powerful. I was filled with a new sense of determination. I had spent too long being silent, too long pretending that everything was fine while our lives unraveled behind the closed doors. "I refuse to let you or anyone take her happiness away because of selfish choices." He glanced back at me, and for a fleeting second, I thought I could see the mask slip. The fear of losing everything began to seep through, and I knew he was beginning to understand the gravity of the moment. "You think I want to hurt her? You think I would ever want to do anything against her happiness?" I opened my mouth, but he cut me off. "It is always about you, Isabella, you and your need to expose something that does not need to be said. You are willing to drag everyone into this mess just to soothe your own conscience." I felt the weight of his words land painfully, like stones sinking into my heart. "My conscience?" I retorted, struggling to keep my voice steady. "This is not about me. I am not trying to shield myself from guilt, but rather protect my daughter from betrayal." His frustration was palpable, and it ignited a fire within me. Perhaps I was tired of living in the shadow of his secrets, tired of sacrificing my own feelings for the sake of keeping the peace. She deserves to know the truth, and it is your job as her father to tell her that. You cannot hide behind this facade while she rushes headlong into a dangerous path. I stepped back, feeling the heat of my words settle into the great silence that surrounded us. The tension was thick enough to slice through, and I could see the struggle on my husband's face. I wished for once he would just understand, that he would pull me close and tell me everything would be all right, but I felt instead the distance grow between us. You may hate me, but this is my decision, he finally replied, and disbelief coursed through me. Your decision to keep silent about a truth that could change her life. That is not a decision made out of love, that is cowardice. My chest tightened as I turned away, feeling the walls of our life closing in around me. Ever since we had discovered what had been hidden from us, I felt as if I were suffocating in my own home. The air, once filled with laughter and hope, now carried the stench of deception and dread. My heart raced as a new idea took root in my mind. A plan. I could not just wait for the truth to bubble to the surface, I had to take control. I had to make sure that my daughter would not walk into that wedding blindfolded, unaware of the betrayal that lay beneath. I remembered the way my daughter had looked at her fiancé, filled with love and hope for a future that could shatter in a moment once the truth was revealed. I will tell her myself, I said, my voice resolute despite the trembling in my heart. My husband's eyes widened, disbelief mixed with anger washed over his face. You cannot do that, you cannot destroy everything. I could see the panic rising as he stepped closer, desperately attempting to regain control. I will not stand by and let you ruin her life. I will do what is right, and if you refuse to help me, then this is where we part ways. My voice had grown louder, filled with the weight of everything I had been holding back for too long. As the words echoed off the walls, the sound felt both liberating and terrifying. You are being dramatic, he said dismissively, but I could see it was more of a desperate attempt to mask his own fear. No, I am being decisive, I replied, standing taller, refusing to back down. I choose my daughter over your cowardice. Then, with a deep breath, I turned and walked towards the kitchen, leaving him standing in the doorway, frozen in disbelief. I needed to calm my racing heart to find my strength. The kitchen felt like a refuge, but even as I gripped the countertop, I could feel the reality of my decisions settling down like a heavy weight. The faint smell of faded memories lingered in the air as I remembered the meals we had shared, the laughter and warmth that had once filled our home. I longed for that feeling again, the feeling of safety, of loyalty, of love unmarred by betrayal. Before long, the front door slammed open and shut, a loud bang that resonated through every room of the house, causing me to freeze. I knew it was my daughter arriving home. I could already hear the light footsteps echoing against the hardwood floor. My heart raced as I realized that soon I would be standing before her, ready to shatter her world. The possibility of heartbreak hung in the air like a dark cloud, and though I felt terrified, a surge of determination coursed through my veins. I had to expose the truth. Mom, my daughter called, her voice sweet and innocent. It pierced through my turmoil, and I knew at that moment I could no longer hide. My husband's silence followed me like a shadow as I stepped out from the kitchen. I had to do this, for her sake. I am here, sweetheart, I called. The moment she walked into view, I could see the bright smile on her face, the light in those beautiful eyes I had cherished, and my heart ached knowing what was about to happen. The invitation still lay in my hands, a symbol of impending doom, and as I held it tightly, I felt the suffocating weight of responsibility. In that silence, our lives hung in the balance, destined to change forever. It was time for the truth to come out, and with it came the shockwaves that I could only hope to contain. I could still hear the echoes of my husband's voice as we stood under the fluorescent lights of the community hall, the white walls bright but almost blinding in their cheerfulness. It was supposed to be a joyful occasion, a celebration of love and unity, but instead it had become a stage for betrayal and unmasking. The wedding had been planned for months, and yet here we were on the eve of it all, and everything felt so unbearably wrong. My heart raced while I recalled each moment, every smile that had spanned my daughter's face while she prepared for the biggest day of her life. I felt like a marionette with tangled strings, dreading the moment when my hand would reach for the knife hidden beneath my thoughts, waiting to sever those ties. My daughter moved about the hall, her laughter like a haunting melody that reminded me of what was hidden beneath the surface. I watched her face glow with excitement as she picked at the delicate lace on her wedding dress, so meticulously chosen, so deceptively beautiful. It was like watching my heart shatter with each swirl of her pure delight. But underneath the layers of joy was a secret, one that folded over itself like a sinister origami, and I could no longer bear the weight of my silence. My husband stood nearby, his arms crossed, a tight smile plastered onto his face. He exuded that familiar charm he saved for public outings. But I could see it in his eyes, the flash of guilt, the flicker of betrayal. All those years spent creating a facade, nurturing a house built on denial, and here I stood on the brink of collapse. Mom, can you help me with the bouquet? My daughter's voice brought me back to the now, her words laced with innocence, a tinge of sweetness that was impossible to ignore. She just had no idea that beneath her perfect plans lurked the truth that would soon emerge like a dark storm breaching the sunlit sky. I gave her a small smile, hiding all the layers of anguish that rolled within me. Of course, sweetheart. I felt my hands shake ever so slightly as I reached for the blooming flowers in a delicate arrangement, their fragrance a sharp contrast to the bitterness biting at my insides. The hall was bustling with family and friends, their chatter mingling with the soft music playing in the background. It was yet another celebration, an event I had thrown together to honor my daughter and her fiancé, yet I was paralyzed by the escalating conflict boiling within me. As I turned to my husband, the man who had betrayed not only me but his own daughter, a wave of resentment washed over me. Memories rushed back, the late-night messages, the whispers that lingered between us but never quite reached the ears of our children. My husband, so adept at convincing everyone of his purity, had shattered that illusion for me. Just like that, the laughter echoed hollowly in my ears, painting an ironic backdrop to the chaos unfolding within my heart. My fingers tightened around the bouquet, and as I saw my daughter smile in the mirrored reflection of the hall's windows, the heaviness inside me transformed into a tense resolve. "Do you think Dad is going to cry?" she asked, beaming, totally unaware of the storm brewing behind her sun-kissed face. "He is always so emotional," I managed, the words sticking to the back of my throat like dried mud. If only she knew. "Mom, I hope everything goes perfectly," she exclaimed with such fervor it pierced my heart yet again, a reminder of my role as her protector, as a mother who should shield her from the harsh realities of life. "It will, darling, I promise," I assured, my voice cracking, but I felt a surge of strength boiling beneath my surface. I was tired of lying, tired of this charade. I would not let her step into that chapel wearing blinders. My husband approached, his charming smile faltering as his gaze darted between me and our daughter. "How is everything coming along?" he asked, feigning interest, but I could sense the fear bubbling just beneath the surface of his cool demeanor. "Perfectly," I replied, the word tasting bitter on my tongue. I could barely look at him without the memory of his infidelity clawing at me, tearing down every ounce of trust I had left. "Why don't you help your daughter get ready?" he suggested, but I could hear the panic in his voice. It was unmistakable. My eyes narrowed ever so slightly as the room began to feel stifling, contaminating my breath. "I think I will stay if that is all right," I said, coaxing confidence into my words. "She might need some emotional support." I could see his facade beginning to tremble, and I relished in the small victory I gained from that flicker of fear. I reached for my daughter's hands, squeezing them tightly as if anchoring her to me, a tether that would keep her from floating too far away into her own happiness, a happiness built on the very betrayal we were both cloaked in. My son entered the hall, his presence a mix of enthusiasm and clumsiness. "What do you think of the cake? Is it big enough?" he asked innocently, his excitement palpable. My heart twisted again, if only he understood the bitter frosting of lies that coated our family. "It looks perfect, dear," I said, but the ache in my soul was worsening. My husband's gaze flickered uneasily toward our son, and I caught the barely concealed panic swirling in his eyes. Would he dash to save his reputation, or would he continue to neglect the unfolding disaster right at our feet? "Can you help me carry the flowers?" my daughter interjected, shattering my thoughts as she skipped over to my son. As they turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of fleeting innocence, one I yearned to protect, and yet I was the gatekeeper now, the one who held the truth behind the veil of happiness. "Mom, hurry after us," my son called, and they disappeared around a corner, laughter trailing behind them like a wounded bird trying to find its way home. I hung back, my heart racing, alone with the shadows anchoring me. I had to face my husband, the architect of this morass engulfing us. I could no longer silence the voice inside me that demanded retribution. "You need to confess," I found myself saying, my voice low but unwavering. He turned to me, eyes wide with genuine surprise, and in that moment I felt powerful. "What do you mean?" he replied, his facade faltering as he absorbed my words. "You know what I mean," I said, feeling the cracks in my own armor begin to splinter as his poker face crumbled. "Our daughter is preparing for her wedding, oblivious to everything. We agreed to keep it to ourselves, to pretend, remember?" He shot back, defensiveness spiraling in his tone, always his first line of attack. I stepped closer, feeling the heat from my anger radiate outward, invigorating me. "Pretending is causing more damage than you know," I whispered, the urgency of my words pressing against him. "It is unfair to her. She deserves to know the truth. We owe her that much." He shook his head, I could see his pulse quicken, and instantly I knew my words had struck a nerve. "You will ruin everything," he hissed, but I could sense the cracks spreading across his carefully constructed wall. "I cannot keep quiet any longer, not while she prepares to give her heart to someone without knowing what lies between her parents." I felt transformed by my own conviction, and for once I stood strong in my belief that it was time to turn the tide. "Is there even a shred of honor left between us?" I demanded, feeling a warm rush of adrenaline push through me, unmasking the fear that had clung to my thoughts like a ghost. Tears welled up in my eyes as anger coursed through me, my body trembling slightly, but I stood tall, waiting for his response. The hall fell silent around us, the sounds of laughter obliterated in that tense moment, swallowed by the sudden gravity of our confrontation. I saw his expression shift, shifting from anger to fear, a real fear that served to forge my resolve further. I knew that there was nothing left to protect, that everything meaningful had been sacrificed for his selfish desires. "You will ruin her life," he repeated, but his words lacked the same conviction they once had, and I seized the opportunity. "What does it matter if we ruin it with the truth instead of the lies we have been feeding her?" I shot back, my voice firm but cracking at the edges. "You're cheating us both every time you choose to keep your mouth shut, every moment you let the truth fester." I felt raw, completely vulnerable, yet filled with a fire that could no longer be extinguished. My husband froze, his complexion paling as though the weight of my words pressed against him like a stone. And while silence enveloped us, it felt electric, filled with the tension of all that could be or all that might unravel in the moments to come. Just then, the door to the hall swung open, and the laughter from my daughter and son rushed back in, but it felt foreign to me, mocking this heavy moment we were locked in. I turned away, my heart pounding, battling with the knowledge that while they lived in blissful ignorance, I would soon take charge of my own destiny, ready to break free of the chains that had been binding me for years. The air crackled with danger, and I realized that the truth was a weapon waiting to be wielded. As I gathered my intended words, the door slammed behind them with an unexpected crash, reverberating through the hall, startling us. The laughter faded into a heavy tension, each heartbeat echoing in the collective silence that followed the sudden entrance. I turned to my husband, my determination solidified. No more silence, no more pretending. I would gather my strength, revel in the power of the truth. The day of revelation was nearing, and the consequences, the inevitable fallout, would soon lay itself. I could feel it in the pit of my stomach, that dark, exhilarating brush with chaos just waiting for its moment to rise to the surface. I thought I could keep it together when I walked into the dining room that day. The table was set as usual, an extravagant array of plates filled with food my husband prepared that morning, his signature roast, golden brown potatoes, and the sweet aroma of buttered carrots wafting in the air. But something was heavy. I could feel it in my chest, a tightness that came from knowing what I had discovered. As I took my seat, my eyes immediately landed on my daughter, her cheerful chatter filling the room like a veil over the dark truth I had unearthed. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked, noticing my silence. The concern in her voice felt like a jolt, and I forced a smile, wanting to protect her from the storm brewing inside me. "Yes, I am fine, sweetheart," I said, my voice cracking just a little. My son looked up from his plate, a forkful of roast suspended in midair, his eyes searching mine. There was a moment, a fleeting instance, where our gazes locked, and I saw everything he was feeling: curiosity, worry, maybe even a hint of anger lurking somewhere beneath his calm demeanor. My husband seemed oblivious, too busy talking to my daughter about her upcoming dance recital, completely unaware of the turmoil rippling through his family. I could not help but think about the letter I had found the night before, cold and unyielding, hidden at the very back of his nightstand, written in a beautiful flowing script that was not mine, a confession soaked in secrecy. "I never meant for it to be this way." The words echoed in my mind. How could he do this to us, to me? As I watched my husband laugh, the sound felt foreign. The warmth of his laughter clashed starkly with the chill that had taken residence in my heart. He had a way of charming the room, his face glowing with genuine happiness, yet I felt like a ghost sitting among the living, the invisible betrayal weighing on me, pressing down like lead. "Mom?" My son's voice broke through my thoughts again, and I realized everyone was staring at me now, their eyes wide with a mixture of concern and confusion. The air turned thick, and a sense of foreboding rolled over me like a wave. "I need to talk to your father," I said, my voice stronger than I felt as I pushed back my chair and stood up, feeling the need to reclaim a sliver of authority in this chaos. My husband looked at me, brow furrowing, his laughter silenced like the flick of a switch. "What is it?" he asked, shifting in his seat, concern painting his features. "Now," I said, not bothering to soften the edge in my voice. My son went pale as I turned toward the kitchen, knowing full well it was time to peel back the layers of deception. I could almost hear my heart thrumming in my ears as I stepped through the doorway and into the dimly lit kitchen, far from the probing eyes of my children. Once we were inside, I shut the door behind me with a firm click, transforming the lively chatter from the dining room into muted whispers against the walls. The familiarity of my kitchen, with its inviting wooden countertops and the scent of vanilla fading in the air, became a battleground. "Isabella, what is going on?" my husband asked, gradually losing that easy confidence as his arms crossed defensively across his chest. "Don't play dumb with me," I shot back, the words sharp and biting. I could see the smile fade from his face, replaced by a look of uncertainty, perhaps even fear, which fueled my resolve. "I found the letter." He froze, the heat of the accusation sinking into the air like lead. "What letter?" His voice was confident, but I could see the flicker, the brief twitch in his jaw that gave away his composure. "The one from her," I spat, "the one where she says that she never meant for it to be like this, that she loves you." With every word, I felt the weight of each syllable, the anger coiling in my stomach. His once calm demeanor unraveled, and I watched as he ran a hand through his hair, his eyes darting around like a trapped animal looking for an escape route. "Isabella, you need to listen to me," he stammered. "She means nothing." "Nothing?" I could not believe the audacity in his words. "You think I am going to stand here and listen to you brush off this infidelity as if it is just dust on your shoulders? I will not." The tension in my body felt electric, tingling through my fingertips, and for a moment I just wanted to shake him, to bring him face to face with the reality he had created. "You have lied to me for how long? How long have you been sneaking around?" "I was going to tell you," he whispered, his voice barely above a breath, and I saw the desperation flicker in his eyes. I could not tell if he was genuinely regretful or if he was simply trying to buy time. "Tell me what?" "That you chose her over our family, that you betrayed me, that our entire life together was a facade." My voice grew louder, spiraling into a mix of disbelief and fury. "You think an explanation is going to make this better?" Suddenly, the door unexpectedly creaked open, revealing my daughter's small frame silhouetted in the warm glow of the hallway light. "Mom, Dad, is everything okay?" She must have been standing there during the tail end of our exchange, and the shock reflected in her wide eyes pierced through me like shards of glass. "Everything is fine, sweetheart," my husband said too quickly, his tone strained as he tried to put together a facade. But there was no way to mask the crack in his voice, no way to shield the truth that was threatening to spill out. No, I said firmly. Everything is not fine. The words shot out of me before I could stop them, unraveling before my stunned family. Your father has been lying to us, he has been cheating. The silence that fell was palpable, thick as syrup as the words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I could see the shock splintering across my daughter's face, her mouth forming a small O as she processed my confession. Mom, what are you talking about? My son stepped forward, his youthful face twisting into concern, the anger bubbling just beneath the surface. You cannot be serious. Your father has been having an affair, I eloquently repeated, the truth now thrumming in the very core of me. I found a letter, a love letter. He has betrayed us, and I will not stand for it. My husband's face turned a sickly shade of green, and for a moment I relished in the vulnerability, the way it shifted the balance of power. You are making a mistake, he whispered, the words spilling out, but the determination in my heart was a roaring fire. No, you are the one who made a mistake, I shot back, my son's eyes flickering between us, confusion blurring his features. My daughter's gaze darted from her father to me, disbelief painted all over her face. What is this about? I could see her trembling, the tears pooling in her eyes, the same girl who had been excitedly chattering about her dance recital just moments before. Dad, tell us it is not true. I can explain, my husband blurted out, his stuttering attempts at damage control a testament to his unpreparedness. Explain to us what, that you threw away our family for an affair? There is nothing you can say that will make this right, I said, my fists clenching at my sides, the rage surging through my veins like electricity. The door swung shut behind my daughter, her small gesture of retreat shutting me off from the world, and I felt isolated. My husband stepped closer, a desperate plea in his eyes, searching for the remnants of tenderness that had long since disappeared from our relationship. Isabella, please, he said, his voice trembling. I love you, this is all just a mistake. I was the one who was supposed to matter to you, I whispered, my voice breaking, the hurt spilling from me like a bucket of cold water. Yet you have trivialized everything we built together. A sob caught in my throat as the reality of his betrayal crumbled around me. I thought you were my partner, I said, staring directly into his eyes, unflinching. Instead, you were my greatest enemy. I could see the panic rise in his eyes, a dance of emotions flickering across his features, fear, regret, sadness, anger, and one last flicker of hope. But it was no use, I was beyond his grasp now. I thought we had something special, I continued, my voice steadying, finding an inner strength. But you threw that all away, you destroyed the home I built for our children. He opened his mouth to speak, but the next words felt heavy. I knew the damage had been done and there were scars that would take years to heal if they could heal at all. Isabella, I will do anything, please. There was no need for more words, and in that moment, as I stared into his eyes, I felt the room draw silent, the world around us ceasing to exist. Out there, our children were still waiting, unknowing and innocent, caught in the middle of familial chaos. For the first time in a long time, I felt my heart pounding not from fear, but from a daunting sense of empowerment. I had drawn the line, I was done being the victim, and I could feel the seeds of revenge beginning to blossom. Anything you think that is going to fix this? I stepped back despite the urge to lash out. You have no idea the devastation you have caused. With that, I turned on my heel, feeling the weight of that doorway, and for a brief moment, my mind raced with the possibilities of retribution. As I walked back into the dining room without another word, the weight of the betrayal strung taut between us, I knew one thing for certain: this was just the beginning. And I would not allow my husband to escape the web of lies he had woven around us. So easily I stood in the dimly lit hallway of my home, the muffled sounds of laughter and chatter from the living room creeping under the door like an unwelcome intruder. The scent of roasted chicken and mashed potatoes wafted through, stirring my stomach but twisting my heart into knots. My family was gathered for a celebration, an occasion that was supposed to be joyous, yet all I felt was the weight of secrets pressing down on me, suffocating, unbearable. My husband, my daughter, my son, they were all in there, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. The louder they laughed, the more my heart raced, each beat echoing the betrayal I had unearthed just days ago. I never expected to discover what I had. I was supposed to be prepping for a family dinner, making everything perfect, just like I always did, but that day turned different. That morning, I found the letter tucked away beneath a pile of old magazines in his office, hidden as if he was ashamed of what it revealed. My husband had been exchanging messages with someone. I had not expected to find out that he was cheating on me. The words on that single piece of paper tore through me like jagged glass, cut deep into my heart, and with every line I read, I felt my world shattering around me. He wrote about all the lies we had woven together, all the moments that had meant so much to us, as if they were nothing more than theatrics for his other life. My chest tightened as I considered each deception hiding within those lines. I stood frozen, trembling, grappling with waves of disbelief and pain. How could he betray me like this? I had given him my heart, my trust, and now it all felt like a cruel joke, a mockery of what I thought we had. The laughter floated through the air, reminding me of how ignorant my family was about the rift that had grown between my husband and me. I imagined my husband's smiling face, charming and seemingly loving, and I hated how easily I had trusted him. My hands shook as I crumpled the letter in my palm. I could taste the bitterness of betrayal on my tongue. For a fleeting moment, I considered confronting him right then and there, tearing through that door and exposing the truth in front of our family. but the thought of stirring chaos at dinner, of dragging them into our private hell, held me back. What would my daughter think? What would my son say? My voice cracked within me, silenced by an onslaught of doubt and despair. Would they choose sides? Would I become the villain in their eyes? I turned away from the door, watching my own reflection in the glass panel. My makeup was flawless, my hair perfectly arranged, and yet I felt utterly destroyed. Glancing back at the door, I needed to know what they were discussing, what normalcy felt like in their happy little world. I pressed my ear against the cool wood, catching fragments of conversation. It sounded like they were sharing stories from work, recounting mundane events that seemed to matter so little compared to the turmoil in my heart. My son's laugh pierced through, full of life and joy, while my daughter's voice chimed in gently, excitement wrapping around her words. In that moment, I felt isolated, adrift on an ocean of their happiness, blindsided by my own agony. The familiar sense of emotional neglect crept in, reminding me of all the times my husband had placed his own desires above our needs. The oppression was crushing, and I needed to release it somehow, but where? I felt as though a volcano was brewing inside me, ready to erupt with uncontainable fury. My mind raced with thoughts of how I could retaliate, how I could strike back and reclaim my power that had been stripped away so ruthlessly. Before I could overthink it, the decision hit me like a lightning bolt. Tonight, I would make him regret his choices. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself. I would play the perfect host, the innocent wife, while waiting for the opportune moment to drop the bombshell that would shake our family to its core. I stepped back from the door, moving into the living room with a smile plastered on my face, but it felt like a mask, one I could barely hold together without cracking underneath. The moment I entered, the clattering of dishes and the conversations subsided, eyes glancing toward me. My husband smiled wide, his grip on my daughter's shoulder meant to convey his affection, while I felt like an outsider in this carefully crafted family portrait. "Mom, you are just in time," my son called, his voice upbeat, capable of lifting me further, though the pit in my stomach only grew deeper. A sense of bitterness bubbled up, mixing with the instinct to keep it together for their sake. "Dad was just telling us about his big presentation next week." "Oh, was he?" I said, forcing enthusiasm into my words. My husband's eyes glinted with pride, but I could see his unease lurking beneath the surface, a flicker of fear as though he sensed the impending storm. "Yes, I will knock it out of the park," he boasted, looking only at our children, ignoring the weight of my presence beside him. It was infuriating the way he could switch from loving husband to empty spouse in a heartbeat. The gall of his casual arrogance only fueled my resolve. As I set plates on the table, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension. I noticed nothing seemed off as we gathered around the dining table, my heart racing in rhythm with the clinking of silverware. The fervent conversations that danced around me felt like they were coming from a different universe entirely. I managed to respond to their inquiries, jokes hanging heavily in the air between us, laughter that bounced off the walls only to fade before reaching me. "Dad told us silly jokes before dinner," our daughter said, her eyes sparkling with humor, a small breaking of the surface tension within me. "Can you tell us this one again?" I tried to participate, pretending as if my heart was resting on the table with my family, but all I could think about was how I would shatter their moments of light with a single truth, a confession that would echo in this house long after dinner had ended. As the main course was served, my husband leaned in and whispered, "You look stunning tonight, just perfect." I wanted to laugh at the irony, to scream how beautifully deceptive his words were, but all I could muster was a tight smile. "Thank you," I replied, my voice colder than I intended. "You are quite the charmer tonight, are you not?" With each syllable that slipped from my lips, I prepared myself for what was to come, holding the weight of those secrets close. The dinner continued, laughter and shared stories bubbling around us, but internally I was preparing for my revelation. The moment felt electric, my resolve solidifying with each passing minute. Just as we finished the main course, I could feel the room stilling, a sense of anticipation hanging in the air like thunder before a storm. "Everyone, can I have your attention?" I announced, trying to mask the tremble in my voice. The laughter faded, eyes turned toward me, curiosity dancing on their faces, unaware of the truth I was about to drop. "What is it, Mom?" my daughter asked, her forehead creased with concern, oblivious to the storm brewing in my heart. "I have something to share," I began, my heart thundering in my chest, sweat beading on my brow. "Something that affects us all." The words hung there, suspended in the air, as I met my husband's petrified gaze, the color draining from his face. His mouth opened, but no words came, a reminder of the guilt that stained his face. The laughter just moments ago echoed in lifeless tones now, and I could practically feel the walls closing in around us. My husband suddenly reached for my hand, desperation etched in his face, his eyes pleading for me to reconsider. "Wait, please," but I was done waiting. "You have lied to me long enough," I said, my voice steady but quiet, tension radiating between us. "And tonight I am done being the fool for your secret life." The room fell silent. A pin dropping would have sounded like a gunshot. I could see the realization hit my family, shock dancing in their eyes. My husband's grip on my hand tightened, but I yanked away, standing tall as I prepared to expose the truth. "I found this letter," I declared, digging into my pocket and pulling it out, my hand trembling but determined. I had to show them who their charming father truly was. "It is time for all of you to know the truth about your husband and father." As I opened the letter, the stained page trembling in my fingers, I could see faces going pale, mouths gaping in disbelief, and I could not help but feel a surge of strength wash over me. This was my moment, and I was ready to take control. Suddenly, my husband jumped up, horror plastered across his features. No, you cannot do this. He shouted, voice cracking, furious yet broken, creating a wave of tension that echoed throughout the room. Oh, but I can, I said, feeling a sense of exhilarating power course through me. This is not just my story, it is ours. As I held the letter high, the very air around us electrified with uncertainty. The world outside that door felt a million miles away, and then it happened. My husband slammed his hand down on the table, rattling dishes, leaving a shockwave that silenced everything. Do not you dare, my heart raced, realization dawning in the eyes of my family. The game was on, and I was no longer the victim of their happy little world. The door swung shut behind me with a heavy thud, leaving all of us in a darkness that threatened to shatter our lives forever. I never expected this confrontation to come on a night meant for celebration. I had thought of everything and nothing all at once. Yet there I stood on the precipice of truth and deceit, ready to tear down the facade my husband had created, ready to reveal the hidden truth. The deep rift that had formed was palpable, beckoning revenge and resolution. As my family stared, stricken with disbelief, I could almost feel the path to my revenge beginning to take shape. I could feel my heart racing as I stood in the dimly lit living room, the air thick with unspoken words and unresolved tension. It was a day that was supposed to be about joy, a day meant for celebration. My daughter was getting married, yet all I could think about was the storm brewing between us, the overwhelming betrayal that lay hidden just beneath the surface. I remembered how the day began, the excitement thrumming through the house, the scent of fresh flowers overflowing from the arrangements, mixed with the lingering aroma of vanilla and sugar from the wedding cake. The soft sounds of laughter in the background initially soothed me, but as the hours ticked by, relief was overpowered by a suffocating dread. Guests milled about, the clinking of glasses, the rustling of dresses as they moved, but my thoughts pulsed louder than any cocktail party chatter. My husband, standing at the edge of the room, shot me worried glances, but I could not bring myself to meet his gaze. I felt the walls closing in as I replayed every single moment that had brought me to this point. I had always felt a bond with my son and daughter, yet over the years I had sensed a rift growing as my daughter began favoring her father, celebrating his successes while looking past my failures. It was not that I minded her tight-knit relationship with him, I wanted her to have that connection, but at times it felt as if I was being detached, relegated to the supporting role in her life. As she walked down the aisle to claim her husband, a flicker of pride flashed through me, quickly followed by a familiar pain I could not shake. All of this turmoil came rushing to the forefront when a text came flying in, buzzing on my phone like a harbinger of doom. I glanced down, my eyes widening in disbelief as I read the words that would shatter the very foundation of my family. It was from my brother, who lived across town and had always been the family protector, or so I thought. The message was short but life-altering. Have you heard the rumors? Your husband has been seen with someone else, be careful. My chest tightened as I read it over and over, each time feeling the world tilt on its axis. I clutched the phone in my hand, the screen illuminating my worried face as my mind raced. The whispers had been swirling for weeks, little comments, careless glances exchanged between my husband and our daughter that felt wrong on so many levels. I had brushed them off, convinced that my imagination was running wild. What if there was truth behind those whispers? What if my daughter was involved in something far more sinister than I had ever suspected? My heart raced with each possibility, spiraling into doubt, a toxic mix of betrayal and anguish. Suddenly, the wedding ceremony reached its climax. I stood frozen as my daughter said her vows, radiant and blissful, while my own world teetered on the brink of collapse. I could not focus on the love she was declaring to someone else when all I could feel was the churning inside of me. I had to confront my husband. I had to demand the truth, no more pretending. As the ceremony wrapped up, I forced myself to breathe, sealing the overwhelming emotions behind a fragile facade of composure. My son's cheers of delight as his sister turned to him after exchanging rings rang hollow in my ears. Everything felt like a cruel joke. Once the couple was announced as husband and wife, I crossed the threshold into my husband's arms, trying desperately to mask the tumult within me. He leaned down to whisper sweet nothings, his breath hot against my ear. I wanted to recoil from his touch, to scream at him for the lies and deceit I feared had tainted our lives. But then the moment shattered into fragments of silence as my brother's text rang in my mind, louder than his soothing words, ricocheting around until there was nothing left but uncertainty. You look beautiful today, he said, oblivious to the storm that brewed behind my smile. I took a breath and forced the words out, we need to talk. His smile faltered as my expression morphed into something stark and serious, and I knew that I was about to push the boundaries of our seemingly perfect lives. He chuckled, and I hated the sound. You are worrying too much. It is a wedding, my dear. We should be enjoying this. I hated how casual he tried to sound because I could see straight through him, and something inside me snapped. I could not stand there and watch my daughter's fairy tale while my own dreams crashed down around me. With a steely resolve, I turned on my heels, the sound of my shoes echoing across the room, my heart thudding like a drum in my chest. I marched toward the balcony, needing space, needing clarity, when my husband grabbed my arm, the warmth of his hand competing with the chill that enveloped my heart. I jerked my arm away, my eyes blazing. I mean it, we need to talk, and not right now, not when the guests are around. This cannot wait. My voice cracked, betraying the cracks in my composure. I could see the confusion and impatience flaring in his eyes, but I was no longer afraid of how he would respond to my rising anger. I was past being the placid wife who accepted everything silently. What is going on with you? You look pale. His concern twisted into annoyance, but there was a flicker of worry beneath that facade. I could feel my hands shaking as I fought against the wave of vulnerability threatening to crash over me. I need to know the truth, no more lies. I have heard things, and I refuse to stand here pretending everything is okay when it is not. My words hung in the air like a lit match, dangerous and ready to ignite a flame. Gripping the rail of the balcony, I looked out over the shadows of the garden, the delicate string lights illuminating the pathway like stars on earth. It was beautiful, yet it felt suffocating. You think rumors can crush our family? We have built something special. Have you lost your mind? His tone now sharpened as I felt the defensive walls rising around him. The grip on my heart tightened at his dismissive response. Our daughter deserves a celebration, not whatever this is you are doing now. I shook my head slowly, frustration bubbling within. No, this is not about her. This is about you and the truth that you keep hiding. It was my turn to push back, to be stronger. I could feel the air between us thickening, electric with tension. The guests inside were obliviously enjoying themselves, oblivious to the storm brewing just feet away. My husband stepped closer, lowering his voice, becoming dangerously calm. You need to stop. This is not the time or the place. The dismissal hurt more than I expected. I took a step backward against the railing, my heart pounding louder than the muffled music from inside. So you're just going to pretend I do not exist, just like that? I spat, anger flaring to life inside me. Pretend everything is fine while you are out there with someone else? It was like a bomb had dropped, and for the first time I could see realization flash across his features, dark amusement morphing into something cold and sharp. What accusations are you throwing at me? This is absurd, he shot back, yet his hands betrayed him, shaking slightly, a reflex I picked up on instantly, a sign of weakness I did not expect to see. There in that moment, a whirlwind of pain and betrayal crashed into me, and I could no longer maintain a calm facade. Absurd? I asked, my voice trembling as it broke. You are calling my fears absurd? I have every right to be concerned, to want the truth. I took a shaky breath, feeling my resolve harden. I pointed toward the window where our daughter was mingling with newfound relatives and friends. Look at her, can you not see the happiness on her face? She does not deserve this chaos, not now. If there is even a shred of truth to the rumors. My voice faded as the weight of what I was insinuating bore down on me. My husband turned to face the wall, jaw clenched, gathering himself while I felt the chasm between us widening. This is going too far, he said, yet I saw the way he faltered, a hint of uncertainty piercing through his bravado. I was ready to push him further when suddenly the door opened and my daughter stepped outside, cheerful and blissful. Her laughter echoed in the air, but I felt a pang, an internal tug as I looked at her golden happiness. In this moment, I was neither her mother nor her ally. I felt like an outsider, plunged into the depths of despair as the truth lingered just out of reach. Mom, Dad, she said, her voice a sweet melody that cut through the tension. I could feel my heart clench at the thought of shattering her world. My husband had the gall to plaster a fake smile on his face, instantly shifting gears, but I sensed the fragility, a trick to hide what lied beneath. We are just talking, sweetie, he said dismissively. My heart sank as my daughter's eyes flitted between us, sensing the uneasiness and silence that had swept over the once vibrant atmosphere. Are you okay, Mom? You look a little pale. I wanted to laugh at his attempts to shift focus, but could barely muster the energy as guilt and anger swirled within me. I am fine, honey, just a long day, I responded, forcing a smile and trying to embrace the surface-level pleasantries. Let's enjoy your special day, shall we? She looked at me, ever perceptive, but the innocence shone too bright to cast any shadows. Okay, just remember how much I love you. You are my rock. There it was, her reassurance a double-edged sword. Then she turned, dancing back inside, and I felt the whole facade of my strength begin to crack. I glanced back at my husband, his features darkening as my earlier words sunk in. The pain mingled with impending betrayal hung heavily between us. This is not over, I warned, my voice turning low and fierce. I could feel the determination gathering in me, pushing away the crushing weight of despair. I would find out the entire truth with or without him. The door slammed shut, and once again we stood alone. But I was no longer afraid. I was ready to unravel the secrets, to expose the betrayal that threatened to tear apart our family. I could hear the laughter and joy of the wedding party echoing within the walls, yet in that moment, for me, the world had come to a standstill. The silence was deafening, and just when I thought there was nothing left to say, my husband's voice cut through the air, laced with disbelief. You do not know what you're talking about. And in that moment, all was quiet. The celebration surged behind us, light and laughter crisp and clear, but then the truth hovered like a shadow, announcing that everything was about to change forever.